Hi and welcome back to part 2 of my video where I was explaining what I was doing with this track. Now you can see here this track has kind of moved forward. I basically changed the drums out for some samples because I wasn't happy with my drums although I kind of was, and then this I just started comparing with other tracks and it needed a bit more oomph in it, and I've got a little microphone hooked up here, so when I turn around at least hopefully my sound should stay the same. So yeah, moving on, as you can see, people ask me quite often why I got all these colors. Why have I got a mixer that's got colors in it and all the rest of it? It's because I use LP colorizer, which I've been using for a few years now. So I've got a couple of videos on my channel if you want to go back and have a look at them. LP colorizer, it's a one-off payment of about 50 euros, I think. I'm not sure the price now, and it's never a problem, and it doesn't take up any CPU or anything. It's just like part of the program. It just integrates perfectly. You get updates every so often when they update Logic. They update, sometimes they run a bit late, and sometimes it kind of doesn't glitch, but it will come up normal, and then the next day and it's back to the colors again. I like this kind of like this look here because it looks like more like Pro Tools, the feel of it, and you can see where your tracks are, and over here it follows. At the moment there's a glitch with this computer. I don't know why. On my M3 my MacBook Air, over here you can see here the colors come up. On the M1 they don't. I don't know why. I think it might be something to do with the controllers. I don't know. Everything seems to work fine except for that, which is really weird. The colors don't seem to be wanting to come up there, but anyway, it's not a showstopper, and there'll probably be an update for that soon. So like I said, there's updates from time to time, and yeah, so I'm loving my controller setup. As you can see, I'm getting faster and faster with it, and you know, I have this little reminder here of what I've got, and you know, I can just check there, but I kind of know, I'm starting to get to know them all by heart, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so what else is going on? Yeah, I'm just going to continue on with this track and explain what I've been doing. Now I've got the screen recording at the same time, so that's pretty cool. And so a lot of people have been asking what are buses and what you know affects buses and sends and stuff. Now on here I haven't got a lot of effects sends, but on the drums here you can hear it. Let me put my headphones on. Now these are my Adam the H200s that I got from Adam Audio. They sent me these, and I've been using these. These are closed, so for singing and stuff like that, there's no spill. And said I don't want it to spill into my microphone, I'm going to be using these, and they got a great sound. I kind of like the Beyerdynamic ones are a bit more. I'm kind of used to them, but I had to EQ them because they were open back. I EQ'd them with this little box here, and they sound great. And these sound pretty good as well. They're pretty standard sounding. I wouldn't say they're overcooked or anything, so they're pretty good to work with. So as you can see here, the only thing I've got is a send on this track here. I've got a send here, right? Now the sends I usually use here. I can just bring this up here, as you can see on my I like using it here. I can do it here as well, but I just prefer it here because it's so much easier. You just press on sends and they all come up. So I think I talked about that last time. So I've got a send on that. So sends, basically that's a track and I'm sending via the bus. So it takes the bus and the signal goes somewhere. So the signal goes to my bus 8, which is over on this side here. If I press on the lexicon button, you can see here on this side we've got the lexicon reverb. Right now if I click on that, you can see the reverb come up there, and you can see I've got the controls on here. That's really cool, and I can then just start from here. I can just move up and down. You know, I've got it all sort of like programmed. Well, it's not programmed. It's already it's all mapped out anyway. So that's what I'm saying. It's all mapped out. It's brilliant. And so basically, I send a signal from the track. It goes here into the lexicon here, right? Okay. So you can hear the reverb. You hear the reverb. Hear that? That's the reverb. And then the reverb goes back to the drum bus, right? I got stems here, the bass drum bus here, the drum bus here, bass, keys, leads, vocals and effects, right? So all my channels here go into these buses. If I go over here and I solo this here, you can see I've got bass drum bus as well, because that's the second one. And then here, these all go into the drum bus, right? So on the drum bus, if you come over to the drum bus, my drum buses are over here. You can see the drum bus here. I've got a brick wall limiter, bus drum, keys, leads and vox, right? They're all limited. This bus drum I'm gonna put on clip. So they're all coming through separate buses, right, already. I usually work from the start like that because I work into the buses. So when I mix, I'm pushing each track here into the bus, but I make sure I gain stage it. So I don't want to sort of overcook things, but that limits my sound. So what does that mean? Basically, what does that mean? That means that you have the possibility of pushing sounds without distorting them in the buses, right? And so if I push the bass into the so I'm mixing my bass here, which is on its own. So over here you can see that the bass here on its own is going in to the bass bus, right? Okay, now I can push that without the actual level of the track going up. So what I mean by that, if I solo the bass and you listen to it, right, and you can hear, right, just give you an example, right, I can push, if you look at the level here, look at the levels here, right, 19, so it's 19.5 RMS, so we're at 14, right, minus 14 the peak. Now if I push this here, still stays at 14, right? I'm pushing into the bus here. If you look at the limiter here, now if I push this, but it's not getting any louder in my overall sound. So you can see the sound up the top here. So you can see the sound has stayed the same, right? So 14, minus 14, it hasn't moved. It starts to distort. So, but you can sometimes get what we call psychoacoustics. So like it sounds like it's louder, but it's not louder in the level. So what does this mean? When I'm mixing into my buses, each sound I can get to a maximum sort of like volume without it distorting, of course, but it's not getting louder into the mastering bus, right? So when I throw it into the mastering bus, it's not going to get in the way. So because it's not actually louder, but it sounds louder because you're pushing it into the thing. But it's kind of psychoacoustic thing, you know. But it works great. And a top engineer taught me all about this years back, and it's something that I've done all the time. And I must say, my mixes and my masters actually sound pretty good. So when I do that, that's all ready to go in to the master bus, right? So let's move on to the master and have a look at what I do there. So you've understood how the buses work when it descends, and how you send other stuff from one place to another. You're just sending it to a bus, right? So here as you can see on these tracks here, the drums are all going to bus number 2, and bus number 2 is here, going in here, and here it's going out to the master, right? So you got everything going to bus 1 is the bass drums, bus 2 is the drums, the bass here, keyboards, the leads, and then I've got some vocals, if I've got vocals. I haven't got any vocals in here. And then I've got like effects like whooshes and stuff like that going to number 7. And all these levels are done to my, there's kind of certain music have certain levels. So I've got like a rule of thumb where I have the bass drum at a certain level, the drums at a certain level, and I kind of stick to that. Unless I'm doing something where I really need something to stand out, I might make it a bit louder, but it's kind of works that way, you know. And so the drums, the buses and that, it's quite a simple, this is quite a simple mix here. It's not a complicated mix, I wouldn't say that. So when we get to the mastering, I have sort of like a setup that I use, which is kind of the bass. It's basically the same mastering setup as I always use, basically, which is here. And you can see, if you can see on the screen here, over here on the left, let's close this one down. On the left here, I can just either bring them all on, like that, all off. I've showed that before, and then I can just bring up each one. So I have a smoother to start with, which I really like. The Phil Spicer. I'll turn this on, and this kind of how would one say, this kind of checks out, cleans up what's going on, and automatically goes and finds dodgy frequencies and brings them down. So that's pretty cool. I use that, and then the next one up is my, of course, the SSL native bus compressor 2, which if I turn on, yeah, I just have it slightly reducing, right, the gain reduction here, the threshold. This is what I usually set most of it, depends on the track, but this one's set like this for here. Then I got a AMIC 200 mastering EQ, right, which I've added a bit of top, right, maybe a bit too much, I don't know. And of course I can control it all here, you know, you can see this, see, bring that down, bring that up, it's brilliant, I really like that. So I won't have that too aggressive. And then this one is the V3BX, which is basically a mastering mid-side EQ, right? And this is pretty cool, but what I do here is I make it wider to 146, always do that. Monomaker I put at 60, and then I dip it here using the bass shift here, right? The bass shift can basically do that, right? And that pulls out around about 250, and it just boosts the bass a bit there. And I cut it at 50, and I take that off because I don't want to cut the top end. I cut the high pass frequency filter. I use it at 50, depending on the track. This has got quite a lot of sub in it, so I did that, and it seems to be a bit more. Seems to be quite good. Seems to be a better kind of sound. There's too much sub; it was just really overpowering. So, and then I've got a red clip, right, which is a multi-band clipper. And I just set that like that, so it's clipping a little bit on the mid and the high frequencies, nothing too drastic there. I bring the volume down as well. Then I have a Shadow Heels Class A mastering compressor, and that is just now catching anything that's, you know, over the top. And then of course, for me, the best limiter in the world at the moment is the Oxford limiter. And this is seriously a great limiter, it really is. I really like this, and I have that pushed up quite hard. I mean, so you can hear the difference with, if I bring this on, you're gonna hear this dramatically jump in volume, but nicely, not distorting. And I keep the gain reduction at about just under 2, as you can see on here. I have it just under 2 there usually, so I'm up at about an input gain at 5, nearly 5.5, or just over 5.5 dB. And yeah, so that's my kind of my mastering chain, and I've got a nice what I like to see in the multimeter here. So yeah, so that's kind of how I do a track. This is quite a basic track. It's not got a lot of tracks in it. I kind of like that that approach, the minimalistic. I don't need that many, especially in this kind of music. You don't need loads of things. So yeah, so that's the way I do a track. I hope I hope you like that. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, you know what to do. Like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. And I will see you soon. Ciao.